Okay, yesterday you testified that compared to operation, the decommissioning, deconstruction, and recycling would increase adverse impacts. Is there a study or report that quantifies in any way those additional adverse impacts?
No.
Should there be one?
I don't know.
On page 8 of your testimony, at the bottom, you state that the university and TIO are engaging in direct and regular consultation with cultural practitioners. Who are those practitioners?
I don't know their names.
But they are cultural practitioners.
My understanding is yes.
Okay. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service puts out a handbook for the National Environmental Policy Act. In that handbook, there is a section called the 40 Most Asked Questions. I've copied item 32 in that handbook, which I'd like the witness to read, and I also have copies to hand out to everyone else, to all the parties if they wish.
Is it an offered exhibit?
I'm just trying to reference something. I would like for him to read it. It's in a response to one of his, or to part of his testimony.
Mr. Sanderson, can you please take the microphone?
We'd like to object and ask for an offer of proof. We've not been provided with an opportunity to review these documents in advance.
Thank you. Ms. Ward?
I'd like to ask whether Mr. Kanuha could actually offer it as an exhibit at this point.
Ms. Ward? You're asking if he can offer that as an exhibit at this point?
It's a point of clarification. There are several things that we are finding with the night before that we're about to do cross, and some of them are exhibits, some are not, and I'm asking the question in a general way, is it possible when something has not yet been offered as an exhibit that one could offer it during the time of cross?
Well, actually, we were going to take up the fact that it looks like there are some things that you have been filing and a number of others. So I need to take that up this afternoon at 4 o'clock. All right, thank you, though. Yes, Mr. Sanderson?
We note for the record that Mr. Kanuha is conducting the cross-examination, not Ms. Ward.
Mr. Kanuha?
What I'm trying to offer is actually quoted, I believe, in the CDUP.
Where is it quoted? Do you have the exhibit and the page number, please? And may I first ask you, what is the purpose of this, what you're trying to do right now?
The timeline of the CDUA and the amount of time separated, or I guess, how far separated we are from the time that the CDUA was authored. Or submitted.
How separated?
How separated we are in terms of time.
You mean like today?
Yes. From the time that the CDUA was authored and submitted.
What is the point here? Ma'am, excuse me, I'm talking to him.
Sorry.
Thank you. So the point is his application was done in 2010, that's clear.
Yes.
And today's date, I'll take judicial notice that it's October 25th, 2016. So
Right.
What is the point?
The point is, it's been 6 years.
Okay, and why do you need to have something, that exhibit, to do that?
Because there's a reference in here that states that anytime a CDUA has not expired but is submitted and there's a long passing of time, I guess, before it's actually implemented, that if it extends beyond a 5-year period, that there's a high potential or a high, I guess, a degree of importance towards relooking at it. And I believe he stated yesterday in his testimony that
That area was asked and answered. He's not aware of any law that requires updating or having some kind of statute of limitations, if we call it that. I think there was some allusion to that. So he's already covered that.
okay.
Mr. Sinkin, do you have an objection?
I realize when the witnesses, when the cross-examination is coming late, a lot of material has been covered already, and we don't want to be repetitive. I realize that. But I think it prejudices the later filers to not be able to pursue their line of thought because one particular piece of it may have been considered before, such as this piece has been mentioned, but certainly not the statutes that apply to it.
If we don't follow that process, then everybody who comes late will be able to regurgitate everything again. So it's incumbent on folks to be here. As I said, when I admitted them as parties.
Oh, I don't question that, Your Honor. No, I don't
So
question
I
that.
appreciate your thought, and believe me, I'm thinking the same thing, but I have to rely on everybody to be responsible for their own representation. And if they've missed days, I mean, I've given an exception to Mr. Kanuha because I felt he gave us a good reason for his absence because he had to work.
Maybe I'm
And
not clear on my...
Given him an opportunity to cross even though we passed his time, his term.
Right.
So I've made concessions, but if the information has been given before,
But that's where my objection rests.
I
If
hear
he
you.
has new information about a topic that was discussed before, I think he should have the opportunity to submit new information, such as a statute that may apply that wasn't discussed before.
and that's
That's
not
what I'm
what I think he's offering.
I'll leave it up to him to say.
All right? Yes.
What am I? I was asking to submit something. You told me no, and so is that where we're at?
Well, I'm not sure what you're offering. It's not an exhibit. You said it's something you found somewhere. So no one has seen it before, including this witness.
It's I've put a section from the United States Fish and Wildlife Handbook for National Environmental Policy Act. In that handbook, there's a section called the 40 Most Asked Questions. And I want to pull question number 32.
And so you haven't submitted that into as an exhibit,
I
have
just
you?
accessed it last night or this morning, depending on what time it was.
Right. So it's kind of unfair to put something in front of the witness and expect him to know that, be able to answer questions from something you just pulled out. If you wish to offer your exhibit, you can do that, because your turn to put on your case is down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wish to put that in, you can do that. You don't have to do it through this witness.
Okay. I guess I'm not really trying to get his understanding of it. I'm just trying to bring this to his attention to see if this is maybe something that I guess should have been considered or perhaps maybe wasn't fulfilled.
Yes, Mr. Kanaile.
I think that's why a lot of motions were filed about the university not giving it early for all of us to review it like we're supposed to do.
Yes.
And it's why we're having these problems right now. That we all of a sudden we're finding things that this was they put it on first, and then we bring our things later. I think it was filed by Mr. Sinking.
Well, if you have good reason, I think I've given a lot of allowance. So I'm not going to discuss this anymore. I'm trying to deal with Mr. Kanuha's cross-examination.
I was just explaining the problem.
Yes, Mr. Kealoha.
I don't mean to interrupt. Aloha ka Mauna Kea aloha here. But I believe the document he's trying to quote is included in the CMP. And I just wanted to offer that.
It's
Sorry. CDUA, Kalamai.
Where is
CDUA.
it?
Can I ask Mr. Freitas to come and explain that? Because the document he's quoting is included in the record.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Mr. Kanuha is welcome to introduce that. If he has good cause, I'll certainly allow it. He has his opportunity to put on his case. If he wants to make those points, he certainly can do that during his time. But for this witness, this offer at this time is unfair, and I'm not going to allow it.
Okay, so I cannot submit him this this reference and ask him 4 questions.
Correct.
Okay.
You're not precluded from
From
offering
bringing it
it
up
during
later.
your
You're denying
time.
me right now, in this cross-examination only.
Yes, I'm dealing with this witness, what's fair. I wouldn't allow them to, when you put your direct testimony up there, I'm not going to allow anybody to do that to you either. Okay?
You know,
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mahalo.